are very excited today. As you know, it's Mandela Month, Mandela Day, and we're very honored to have the Umhlanga Beverly Hills Hotel, the five-star hotel in KZN, Durban, and we are so proud to be partners with such a prestigious hotel. And today we have the lovely Mr. John Aritho, who is going to just speak to us. We've been fortunate that we've had this partnership over the last 2 years, over this month, every time where you've opened your doors to also meet youth that are from the industry and aspiring youth that want to get into this industry. So John, we thank you for this opportunity. We know that it is unique times currently, but we also don't want to lose touch for what we are here to do and what we are striving in terms of bringing excellence within tourism and hospitality through education and exposure. So John, welcome and thank you. I know it's been a crazy time for you with trying to still keep things running and also looking at different ways of how we can continue post-COVID. So John, obviously it's Mandela Month, and as I've already said, you've hosted us previously. We've got great reviews from young youth from KZN and Durban that have amazing testimonies of the experience through our program that you've kindly supported. Can you perhaps just tell us more about what, your previous, I think even last year was just quite a highlight for us, what you felt and how it was engaging us and the youth that was present.
Thank you very much, Jessica. First, I must commend you for keeping this program alive. COVID-19 has come and a lot of people excuses for not doing things. And I really commend you for keeping this up and keeping the youth still participating in one or another in terms of the ENZA program that you do. And it really, when you look at tourism and where we are, even as a country, it's the youth that will make it really grow. And if we, the industry, do not have or shine the light, then we are really doing a disservice to the country, a disservice to the business, to the industry. So it's a duty, it's an honor, it's a privilege to be able to share. You have, as Project ENZA, done a lot with us at Soho-san. Soho is one of, it's actually the largest hotel group in Africa, in South Africa, and the oldest as well. I Beverly Hills Hotel, which is 55, going to 56 years. It was the first five-star hotel in South Africa, founded by Saul Kersner. Unfortunately, he passed away in December, I think in January this year, just before COVID hit, which is quite sad. But we could legacy, we've got great leadership, and the key thing that we've partnered together with is educating youth, bringing them through especially when they're studying the hospitality industry trade, and so they can see firsthand how we run it, how it's run. I think it brings in a lot of joy from my team to be able to mentor them. And I think it's something that we can even carry forth, because at Soho, we love mentoring and we do a lot of mentorship to young people. So it would be good even to be able to mentor almost on a one-to-one basis. It's always difficult in our business because time is of essence. We run a 24-hour business, 5 days, but sacrifices have to be made. But when the students come through to the hotel, we have a great opportunity to get them into different departments, get them to see how the various departments work together to produce a product for the guests that walks through the door. And understanding what happens in the back end of that engine is so fundamental, because it gives them a glimpse of what to expect. And it's one of those businesses that you have on the grassroots, what happens in the grassroots before you rise up and as you rise up. And you've got to keep updating yourself. And I look at an example, we reopened, we've been closed because of COVID for 3 months, March, April, end of March, April, May, and June. When we reopened in mid of June, we were one of the first hotels to reopen on the 10th of June. We opened with a skeleton staff, so I could only afford to have very few managers to run the business. So, for instance, as a manager, I was making the cappuccinos, so I had to quickly learn how to do that. And why I'm saying that is that there is it's about understanding the basics and doing the basics right. And having my manager doing the basic things, is a business of humility because we're there to serve people, and B, a business where you need to constantly keep learning. So I had to learn how to make different types of cappuccinos again, rather than dealing with spreadsheets of finance and reports. And slowly and surely, started growing back into business, and business is starting to pick up, which is great. And that's the beauty about the program you run, that the kids understand, or the learners understand the basics of this business. It's fundamental. Yes, Jessica.
And I do like that, as you say, is that especially what we found with your partnership, I mean, the educators themselves were super excited because at times we kind of just feel that a 5-star is just too far away for us to reach. And obviously there's always that prestigiousness that is linked to it. So for them, and especially the educators, they too got to learn so much because they don't get time, whether it's by leisure, to come and experience an hotel. And I think that's what makes this particular program so special, because for most of them, they would never get an opportunity to come and spend time in the hotel. And I think one of the highlights that I have to mention, when we do the program, you would also do spot prizes. And when we got some feedback from those that came and brought family, it was just so heartwarming for them to sort of really get to experience, especially as students, to now be on the other side and be served in that 5-star format. And so that has really been one of the highlights. But tell me more about as a group, and as we know, Tsogosan is our flagship in South Africa and Africa as a whole. How has this affected, the group, this pandemic, particularly, and how do you think you're going to be going forward in a different kind of mindset as things have changed?
Look, I can probably speak with two hats. One is from a tourism perspective, because I'm the chairman of the Tourism Forum for the Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and two, as a hotelier that runs the Beverly Hills. The industry has been hit very, very hard. Travel, went to zero. Interestingly, is that by March we were actually doing very good occupancies. I think I was sitting around about the 80s, high 80s, going to 90s. We were looking forward to, to a great April, May, school holidays coming up. So, everything looked quite buoyant. International travel was on, and what happened suddenly is a cutting of international travel and domestic travel. Is that the hotels were shut down, which hotels are like planes. They're never built to be shut down. A regular house can be shut down and you can go on holiday. Hotels are never made, or planes are never made to go on holiday. Yes. Really costs the business a lot of money because water in the system pressure builds, it pops up then you get damages on the floors, ceilings collapse, carpets have to be replaced. So it's been a very expensive occurrence for a lot of hotels around the world. Probably the saving grace is that we're not the only ones that have been affected. It's the entire world. I talked to colleagues in the Netherlands, in the US, in Dubai, and I think the only people that will survive are the people that are going to adopt and change and look for different ways of doing business, which we'll talk about when we talk about the fourth industrial revolution. And so as a group, we were highly impacted. Our CEO closed all hotels. We've got 103 hotels in the country. All of them were shut down overnight.
Sure.
When we reopened, we only reopened maybe about 30 odd hotels. The Beverly Hills was lucky to be one of the 30 to be reopened across the country. Only 2 in Durban itself. And these are the only hotels that really had to start from scratch. It was really like starting from scratch to gain business and gain occupancy. And it reminded me, I've opened a lot of hotels group around, you know, in Mozambique, in Tanzania, in the Dubai, in the Seychelles. And it reminded me how you start a new hotel. When you build a new hotel, gain experience that is unteachable in college, because you gain customer walks in, however busy, however much money was put in, and however well trained you are, everything changes.
Yes, it does completely.
It does, and we had to start from zero. Guest number one again. You know, since 1964, the hotels always had. Now we had to start with guest number one, and I remember meeting the guests as they checked in, and we've got masks and. You know, it is a new protocol on how we clean the room or how we welcome the guest. You know, everything has changed. Everything has changed. As a group, we've been very, very lucky that the company has continued to support that the business still goes on. As I said, we are the pioneers of the business, so it's not easy to be the leader. I take my hat off to the leadership from our company, and that have really kept the business afloat. And you know, with the Minister of Tourism yesterday, as a matter of fact, announcing that leisure tourism is back, there is a flick that we can start seeing better occupancies coming to the hotels. Yeah.
And as you say, you're saying now with the occupancies, I know that most of your business, whilst you do get a lot of domestic, as we know, international travel is also a key source for your business. And how has that also been for you?
See, international travel has been key, but for us at Sohosan, we've been very lucky because we've invested a lot in South Africa itself. We believe because we're a South African company. B, in fact, we just received today our triple BE level 1 accreditation, which means, you know, which means a lot.
Awesome.
A lot about what the company does, and is that we invest heavily in domestic. So domestic is key. You know, fortunately, it's key for us. So we have a better chance of bouncing back because we've not over-relied on international travel. Travel has always been maybe, I would say, 15 to 20% of our business, and the rest has been domestic. Durban, domestic. Cape Town has got a bigger, more international German, British markets, US markets. Market here has really been helped by the introduction of British Airways direct flight from London. So we housed the pilots from BA, and once that was shut, zero. We you know, that's a tough one. Where I still speak to British Airways, and they're waiting to see when we're reopening. But the word on the ground, Jessica, is people want to travel after lockdown, which is very encouraging. People want to travel. People want to, the Americas want to come to Africa. They want to stay away from crowded cities. So Durban works very well. They want to go to parks. Durban works very well. They want to go to beaches. Durban works very well. I'm very encouraged that the industry will bounce back. It will take a while to bounce back. I cannot really put a number or a month or a year, but it will definitely, you know, and the demand will be there. The authorities, be it Durban Tourism and KZN, tourism KZN, I've done an enviable job during lockdown to set strategies on how we're going to recoup business back, you know.
Yes.
And with the strategies that they've put, the roadmap, I think once that's implemented for international travel, it might put us even in a better space as Durban to get more business than we've previously had. Yeah. So I'm encouraged by that. But having said that, unfortunately, you know, human capital, which is jobs, is the first thing that's affected when there's a pandemic or a crisis like this. So it has been very tough for us as a company. It's been very tough for our employees. Everyone's taken pay cuts. The government has helped a lot with the TERS up till August. If it's not for the TERS, I really do not know. Most companies would have folded. I strongly believe that has really been a good a lifeline to the business for people unemployed. And when you look at anyone that is employed in this line of work, whether it's tourism in whichever way, they are extroverts. So they're not people that are used to sitting at home.
Yes, so that's the problem.
They're not people that are used to office jobs. They're people that are used to, and so even when we reopen, our staff have been dying to come back to work, but we have to be careful so we contain costs and, you know, so we can be able to reopen fully.
I like what you're saying about the service industry. And I know that a lot of youth is listening to us right now. And a lot of them that didn't know that COVID was going to happen, and they're busy working on presenting their CVs. I know you received maybe a lot of those in your office or at your desk. Can you tell us what you normally look for when you're going to employ anyone within your organization? Because a lot of the youth struggle in terms of structuring their CV to speak to you. I know that our industry is not about just what is on paper, but also a lot about the person and their attitude towards the job. So can you just perhaps tell us more, how do you really look for those gems that would want to join your organization?
Jessica, that is actually such a brilliant question. You know, it's something that is my pet love and pet hate because CVs, they are the window to the person, and how they're presented, it shows exactly, either can inform or misinform about the person. You have to make sure it's a better representation of yourself when you present it. So it's almost starting from basics, from number one, is what information is relevant, what do you want to tell the employer, what is really relevant. And post-COVID now, as we keep saying, either it's post-COVID or with COVID, a lot of employers, when they start employing, are going to first look and see, what did you do during the lockdown? Were you the that slept in all day, woke up, ate a meal, slept again? What did you try to enrich yourself? It is so, just before COVID, we employed quite a number of new talent. I call it new talent. I don't call it staff. And I'm just so encouraged of the people that we have. And the people that succeed mostly, are people that show what the qualifications from school is important. You've got to go through basics and have that. Second is a passion in the business. So whether someone that does coffee or cocktails, whether it is a person that wants to get into the rooms division or front office or housekeeping, how much of an extrovert are they? How much of a people's person are they? What have they done with that? They've got to put that and capture it in paper. My advice is, if you can get yourself an agency, it is probably the best. With an employment agency, they will mold and ask you the right questions so that they can extrapolate the best out of you. Rather, it's very hard to self-glorify or put what is here down on paper. A lot of people say, oh, maybe I'm not worthy. Maybe someone else is better. But when someone else sits on the other side, then you realize you've actually done a lot, or you haven't done. Then it pushes you to make sure you get the right content. It is extremely important that if you've got international exposure or an international opportunity, and here in South Africa, that 1 year that you can go to the States, if you get, unfortunately, I don't know what's going to happen now. I've really found two people finished college same time. The one person took an opportunity to go out of their comfort zone. When I say international, it could be international in the States, could be anywhere, but away from home. When you're away from comfort, your comfort level is cut. So I look at people that their parents too much because they've independent, they've learned to survive by themselves. That's extremely important. A lot of people put pictures of themselves. It is risky. Sometimes could be very unethical because you're already giving the employer a chance to judge the person, the image. So it go either way. Sometimes I advise probably don't. If you do, put a very professional image of, just a passport size image if you have to. Always make sure that it's well written. Update your CV. I always say update your CV every 6 months, because every 6 months you should have done something new and different in your life. If you haven't, then get on and do it. So update it every 6 months. Same thing. Not that I'm looking or look for a job. I've been with the same company 24 years, but I update my CV, and it's a check and balance for myself to know, I need to do a little bit more here. I need to focus a bit on learning a little bit more, and never ending. Then as an employee, you also look and see, is this person, and I'm coming from an old school of thought, is this a person that has 8 jobs within the last 7 years? I don't want to invest in a person that has jumped through 5 different restaurants, 3 cafes, 2 hotels. They've probably experienced, but probably picked a lot of bad habits, and I don't know what history is, and I don't have the time to go and do reference checks with 11 employers. I
love what you're saying, because a lot of youth now don't have the patience to stay at one job to really fully understand. So I love what you're touching on, because if they could learn more in terms of staying for a longer period, it makes a lot of a difference. But what I also like about you, John, is that you are well traveled and you've worked outside of our country. Can you share maybe those experiences? Because I always say the more you travel, the more you understand how hospitality works. Because yes, we are culturally, for instance, being from KwaZulu, we opened one hotel in north of KZN, and the staff there couldn't face the guests in their eyes, so we had to change that mentality of saying, when it comes to service, this is how you have to interact with the guests, and how the culture then also has an effect on us. But can you share, because those are the experiences that people will then know if they went abroad, to understand how other cultures and other countries use service in the industry?
Absolutely, and I cannot stress how critically important it is to be exposed, and if the opportunity comes, and a lot of people look and say, I'll not get the opportunity. If I can advise anything, to our youth. So first, I'll go back one step. You talked about the longevity. When you look at Madiba, the years that he spent, A, in prison, B, facing the same vision and the same dream that he always had, is what has brought us where we are today. If he short-sighted and said, no, let me get something else, we will not be where we are today. I did not know what would have happened. And I'm not saying him, I'm saying him as a representative of the generation and the era that brought us, you know, a democracy. And our kids need to learn that. And when I say our kids, I'm in the same shoes. We need to learn about longevity, about chasing that dream, but being humble and doing, and being an expert. You cannot fly a plane. You cannot fly a plane by jumping from one career to another. You cannot jump, you know, when I see people come and say, oh, I want to go and do HR. I want to go and do management. There is no such thing as management. You learn it in running with people. So that longevity is so important. I'm not saying someone should work for a company for 20 years. If you work for, a lot of people have worked for 35 years, 42 years. It's enviable, and it is, the company, I think, does extremely well. But then those are people that have got patience and pursue what they, you know, pursue. At the end of the day, it's about pursuing of happiness. You know, in pursuing of happiness, what makes you happy? Jumping of jobs, unfortunately, everywhere you go, you start afresh. No one knows you. By the time you are starting to be effective, then you decide, oh, I'm bored. Let me look for something. Gain zero. So you never really grow. That's an unfortunate thing. But going back, you know, I mean, I have probably lived and worked in, I would say, maybe about 12 to 14 countries. I'm talking about living and working, not visiting. And if you can look through, there's a map behind me. That it's a pin map that I was updating the other day during lockdown when I was here, and we didn't have guests, and I was looking to see where have I not traveled, and I only found maybe about 8 places that I have not traveled around the world that I would love to travel. And it's not about having the money to do it, it's having the passion and the thinking to want to do it. And you know, going, for instance, you know, a place like Dubai, for instance, which is, I came from Dubai to Durban about 6 years ago. It is one of the perfect landing spots that the youth, I ask the youth, please go there, work there. The work ethic is unbelievable. You've got to be a professional to the T. You've got to look the best every single day. But what you'll get out of that, you will come back and you will be a richer person in knowledge in all spheres. But also when you'll be able to interact with, you know, Dubai has got I think about 2 to 3 million people. Out of the 2 to 3 million people, 1.8 million are foreigners. So you work with Brazilians, Taiwanese, Vietnamese, everyone you can think about. And this business is about people. Want to succeed, you're not, if you go to Zululand, you say, I'm going to open Martel in Zululand, you're not going to attract people from the area only. You're going to attract people from over the world, or you want to attract people from all over. You've got to be able to understand people's cultures, how to interact with them. If I can advise anything, going back to the CV, like during this time, during a time we didn't even have the opportunity of online learning. Go learn a language. Learn Spanish. You know, if you put on your CV that you know Zulu and you know Spanish and English, you'll be taken. I'm telling you.
Definitely.
You know 9 languages, but all 9 languages are South African languages. You know, it's a good thing, but unfortunately, itself. You know, so learning a language like German, French, Spanish. I remember when I was about 21, I learned Arabic. And I had no idea what I wanted to learn to write from the back to the front. No idea, but I did it. I learned French, did German on my extra hours in the evening. And that's why my mom these different languages, because I knew I'm going to use them one day in the business. To communicate with someone in the language, you do not need to learn that language. But the fact you've made the effort to learn the basics and you can understand, your level goes to a very different level. So CV perspective, languages is important, culture is important, learning new tricks of the trade is important, but don't tell me you know how to YouTube. You know, unfortunately, this is not the business. you know.
For that.
I like movies. That's fantastic. It's got no relevance to this business.
Yeah, yeah.
But tell me you've gone and learned revenue management, hotel revenue management. That's brilliant. And
Definitely.
for instance, when I interview, I ask people, it's so important to understand, if people have a faith. I'm not saying you're going to be, but it's good to see what your belief is. Do you believe in anything? Pack aside. If you don't believe, no problem.
Yeah.
It's also very important to understand. No one knows where they're going. So I never ask the question, where you going to be in 5 years? No one knows. I don't. Whoever said 5 years, they never knew would be sitting in COVID. So that's
exactly.
It's not a question, but it's extremely important to understand if someone has tried or for instance, I've got a chef that's doing law, and this morning, as dropping my daughter to school, she sent me a message, and it's showing her results in law. Now, that is amazing. That is amazing. And I've encouraged her I encourage people, learn what you want to learn, because the beauty about this industry, there's so many ways. There's company law, you can get involved from a perspective with law. So there's so many. You cannot just say, well, I'm a chef, I'm just going to learn how to cook and how to cook the best. You've got to have a differentiation. You've got to have an edge against another chef, because there are thousands, millions of chefs. So what do you have that's going to have
sets you apart?
I mean, that is exactly. You know, I've got a lady again, another chef. She is a grandmother, and she's a grandmother. I mentor her, and she started studying at the age of 57, registered herself, UK, finished her first degree. Guess what she's doing now? She's doing her master's.
Wow, that is amazing.
At 59, going to 60.
Wow, wow.
Says, and the first year she said, I can't do this, I shouldn't be doing this. And I told her, you got to do it.
And I like that, John, because at the end of the day, with education, we will keep learning, and the more we learn, the better we become. And as you say as well, our industry is so diverse. You just never know where you'd land, from hospitality to doing everything else within tourism. So it is quite a vast type of industry that requires you to be able to be flexible, because yes, you don't know as you grow what you'd like to kind of go or get into. So I like that. What do you think now with integrated learning has become a huge part of our industry? Now we have COVID. How are we going to do that and manage that integrated learning with these times?
It's new times now. So the thing with COVID is that there is more questions than answers. Governments don't have the answers. Doctors and physicians do not have the answers. So it's about, kind of charting new ways of doing things, new ways of learning. And I think this is a time to make sure, whether it's a student, whether to get enrolled with online learning, and you can do a lot of little courses where, I was looking online the other day, there's courses you can even get off universities in the UK, even Cape Town. They're giving little short courses at no cost ever. So it's a time to search and see what is out there, what can I be able to pick up that is relevant to this, and they are there. You can also get involved, with integrated learning. I believe in competitions. It's there's, and that takes me back, even from a CV perspective. I encourage staff, compete, whether you're making whether you're cooking, whatever it is, whether you're a concierge, find a competition that you can get. once I've seen someone has made that, because you're really exposing yourself to compete. Once you compete, whether you become the top or you're the last, you've competed, and it means a lot. You know, put that on the CV because you've done it already, just by trying it. And it's the same way. There are online competitions now that are going to happen, so get involved in that. I think with COVID there will be less interaction, but we also need to understand COVID is not a permanent thing. You know, it will pass. It will pass, and learning will come back. But this is the time now to get involved. It's actually a blessing of a time, because you've got people, professionals, say like myself, that have got a little bit more time than we would normally have. So use those people, get a mentor, some you admire, email them, talk to them, tell them, can you help me here? Teach me this. Don't, you know, knowledge is A, knowledge is priceless, and B, knowledge is free. A lot of people have it. And I'd hate to take my knowledge to the grave, because it really has helped nobody. And a lot of people have the knowledge, but they need to ask them. So for instance, I'm mentoring some students in Joburg at the moment through the group, and I've never met them, but we meet online. But it helps a lot. It helps a lot because a lot of COVID brings a lot of loneliness. You know, it brings a lot of despair. It brings a lot of uncertainty. So use it to reach out. If you don't reach out, if you don't say you've got a problem, no one's going to know.
No one doesn't know. And coming back to that, John, I mean, we've spoken about this before, and I love how you've unpacked the 4IR. Perhaps just share with us now how important it's going to be going forward, now that we've learned so much with the likes of doing online meetings and what we're doing right now, and now maybe going forward, because it was always one of those scary things every time we spoke about it, and now we're seeing how important it's going to be, especially now with COVID. It's shown us the importance of 4IR.
Absolutely. So the fourth industrial revolution is with us, actually. In manner and ways, it's with us. And the beauty that the youth, or I can maybe say the born free is coming this age, they're tech savvy.
Yes.
Pointless to be tech savvy to be able to navigate Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. You know, that is social. That's one thing. Put it aside. Is it making you money? Probably not. This is to use technology and see where we can find solutions. And I remember last year when we had the ENZA program with the learners, the one thing that I emphasize is, and I had no idea COVID was ever going to come, but the one thing I know is that jobs are shrinking. There is less new businesses opening, and now you've seen more businesses that have closed than businesses that are. But I'm also a believer that it's life is when someone dies, one. So when one restaurant closes, someone else will see the opportunity. And maybe something bigger and better. So
definitely.
Go on. But now, how do you adopt yourself to be able to be, and I'm going back to what I talked about last year, entrepreneurship. Biggest thing. How can we get ourselves from being employment seekers to employment makers?
Yes.
For me, in this business, there is a lot of opportunities for employment making. And I look around, especially being the chairman of the Tourism Forum, I meet a lot of my members of the Durban Chamber. And there is one half that is just throwing their hands in the air, and you meet them, whenever you talk to them, it's just negative, blaming one person or government or whatever. Or the other. Then there is another set that has just embraced the change. They say, things differently. We're going to look for other ways to make this
work.
And they give me a lot of energy. And without positive energy, you're dead in the water. And
Definitely.
The fourth industrial revolution is saying, now we've got 4G, 5G is coming. How are we going to use it? How are we going to create, whether it's applications, whether it is a system. There are systems, but they're out of reach, say for hotels. You know, you want to go to a room, check into a room, I've got to have a physical key like this to check in. How do we get it that you just check in with your cell phone?
With your cell phone.
Yeah, you know, how can we get integrated services that tell me that I can go to Kwamashu and experience this experience. I'm sitting in London and know about it. How do I do that? Through a website. Those websites really are quite unfunctional in many ways because they're uncommunicative. It's a passive information that's there. So it's the technology you have to look at the needs. And when I talked about mentorship is a student, you need to ask where the industry, what are your biggest problems? What are your biggest needs? What do you know? Because with time, you know, when you look even in some of the developed countries, Germany, the UK, there is robotics coming into play. How do you try robotics into the business? And I'm not saying we do it so that we kill jobs. We don't do that. I mean, look at the motor industry in the third revolution moved from manufacturing vehicles by hand to mechanization. But still, yes, you know, all it did is that it developed people's capabilities because that machinery needs still people to be able to operate it. So how do you cut that kind of technology to create more employment, but be the technology that is available now?
That is available.
You know? Yeah, I mean, when we started hotels, you sit in the back and you have keys and you have to give everyone
a key, and now
big file for reservations. So it's looking for solutions on, you know, and people like your booking.coms, your TripAdvisors, they've developed this product and we need to look ahead and see who's providing a market for all the B&Bs, who's providing a market, all the little hotels. I'm not saying that in South Africa only, no, around the world. I mean, they're sitting somewhere in Europe and it affects all of us. We all know Uber. Everyone, because of one person, one small here. How do I move? And it's the same thing, you know. We've got the opportunity now to create movements like that using the fourth industrial revolution.
What I like with what you said, especially now, and I want to congratulate you because I know you are doing a great job with the Durban Chamber. And before we even part, I would like for you to just explain what you've done there ever since you've taken on that role. But I know transformation is a big thing, and you know, especially in this industry of ours. How have you seen that work within your hotel, within the Tsogo-san perhaps? Because it's one of the things that we need to share, and with hope of people knowing that it is there, it does take place, because a lot of people get a bit scared knowing that, you know what, transformation gets spoken about, but you don't ever see it happening. So can you perhaps tell us what's happened on that side?
Look, as I previously said, you know, with software transformation and empowerment is right on top of the agenda. And the BBBE level 1 says that when you look at our women empowerment, I think we're sitting on 41%. When you look at procurement, which is where I strongly believe there's a lot of opportunities. The youth can be involved and understand, what can I supply? You know, I've got suppliers that come and speak to me. They're like, can I supply eggs? I say, look for something else. What is going to differentiate your egg from his egg? An egg is an egg. You've got no control over the chicken that's laying it. What's going to differentiate you to actually make a profit and get in? So look for So going back to procurement, our procurement level, I think we're 135% on procurement, and that says a lot. That says that we're buying from local, we're buying from women, we're buying from Black-owned companies. So the opportunities are infinite.
Endless.
They are endless. But having said that, when you look also, I mean, for us also from an ownership and management, it is, empowerment is right on top there. But I strongly believe it's got to be through merit.
Yes, yes, always.
It's got to be through merit, and the industry is a transformative industry. What really gives me a lot of joy, for instance, during the lockdown, I visited 2 little restaurants just to support them.
Nice.
Just here. And of the 2, I had no idea. As I finished the meal, the owner came out and was one of my ex-employees.
Wow.
Owning the restaurant.
That is beautiful.
And they did not need thousands of rands. They did not need millions of rands. They needed an idea and someone to believe in them. I'm telling you, it's the best thing to see. It's a pity we've lost them in the company, but we've not lost. I think they've grown. People grow and people metamorphose, and they metamorphose that way, and they are doing extremely well. So when it comes to empowerment, is also who are you hanging around with? I always say, always hang out with a bigger sister or a bigger brother all the time. Don't always hang with your twin. When I say twin, is age mates, because you'll not be able to teach each other. When you hang with an older brother or an older sister, when I say older, not in age, but in experience, or someone that can take your idea and assist you with a bit of, say, finance, or to set up something, or someone that has been there already and has seen what works, what doesn't work. That's why, and for me, that's why empowerment comes to play, and that's why mentorship is important, because you could idea and go to the grave with your idea.
So I really like that. I really like that, John, and I think coming back to this month particularly, where you open doors for us every time, being Mandela Month, maybe just tell us, what does that mean to you? What does Mandela Day and Mandela Month mean to you? I know we also bring men or young men to the hotel, because at times we forget about the men and we focus more with the women. I'm not saying I'm not excited about that. We're going into August, where it's going to be Women's Month. However, we need to always support each other on the very same level. So can you just tell me more about what does Mandela Day mean to you, especially from someone who's had that international background and coming into South Africa?
So Mandela Month, and to me, is commendable, because it is normally said that heroes are not recognized in their own homes, their own lands. Utata Mandela is well known around the world, is respected around the world, but for the government to have recognized this and made this into Mandela Month means a lot about this great man. And for me, I remember reading a Long Walk to Freedom when I was probably, I cannot remember, maybe seriously, at least 20 years ago. And it left such an imprint in my mind. And I would, the youth, take that book and read it. Don't sit online to see what other people are saying. Take that book. It was written by the man himself. Read it. Whether you can online or on paper, read it. And understand where it comes from. Mandela Month for me is about longevity of ideas. Before his passing or after presidency, he said, "It's in your hands." And when he says it's in your hands, it means the future is in our hands. I personally do not believe in going and painting a school or painting a creche, not because of anything, but because you are just doing a little drop in a massive ocean. And never asked myself, would he have done that? I don't think you'd have done that. You would never have posted anything on social media. You would have done something long-lasting effect. So for me, Mandela Month is about long-term effect in everything that you do that is going to affect positively other people.
I love that. I love
you know, but if it's short term is as short term as a post on social media. That post lasts minutes, and so
then
many
people move on.
People move on and forget about it. So,
true.
But he would never have done that. In my opinion, he would have. He always did things that were meaningful, interaction. So, and we all have opportunities, whether we have the ability of funds or no funds, we've got the ability to impact our society in so many ways. And it's impacting that society, but in a way that goes beyond your years. That's a legacy that is left that we have to follow, in my humble opinion.
No, I love that. I really, really do. Your words of wisdom just keep coming every time. So, it all comes so natural.
No, it's something that's really it's important, and it's when you look at Ubuntu, John Dicana, our former colleague here, also he's an amazing human being.
Amazing human.
And when Ubuntu is all about helping each other, being there for each other, and about being the best and sitting on top of other people, which is the same thing I tell my managers. And this COVID has been. I've told them, you are not leaders. You need to understand. You're just as I am. We're members of staff, and we need to not. We don't have porters from now, for instance, because of COVID does not allow porters, does not allow buffets. So I will deliver room service to the rooms. I will push the trolley for the guests. And I think we've done exactly the same thing. One day I was pushing the trolley. I had no idea who I was pushing the trolley for, but it was actually for the Minister of Tourism.
Wow.
So in this business, you just don't know who you're dealing with.
You never know.
You treat everyone the same way, the best you can,
And with the utmost humility, and I love that because that's who you are as well. I would like to, I know you've said so much, but I think it's important to just perhaps reflect, and maybe if you can just, your parting shots to a lot of youth out there that admire John, and as I say, even more now, so that you wear all these hats that contribute to this industry. And with Durban Chamber as well, you are dealing with so many different people within Chamber for this industry. What do you have to say, and also taking from the experiences when you have those meetings with Chamber for us going forward, and especially for the youth that we are trying to impart going forward?
Thank you, Jessica. See, with the Chamber, we deal with people from all levels, from people that have establishments in the townships, to mid-level businesses, to large corporations, to single owners. So you get a whole array of information and interactions. With COVID, a lot of people have been affected, as we know, negatively, but also there's a lot of opportunities. When you look historically, whenever there is a calamity or a massive misfortune, therein lies a lot of opportunities. As a country, I think we should be cognizant that we've never had overwhelming floods, overwhelming famine, overwhelming earthquakes, overwhelming tsunamis and typhoons as other countries have. We need to understand, we're very lucky with that. When you drive around or you travel around KZN or the country, you realize, how much land there is, how much can be done, and how much is needed. People are always going to eat. So there is huge opportunities in agriculture. My former PA, I just met her the other day, and she's studying a bachelor's in agriculture, because agriculture is the future, and agriculture and tourism is so connected. We cannot survive without agriculture, because we cannot run a hotel without that, for instance. I think there is in times like this, there is so much potential, but we have to open our eyes to look for the potential. I think when you go back to empowerment, there is a lot of established white facilities and white-owned companies that want to impart knowledge, search them, talk to them, learn from them, and get yours going. You know, the opportunity is endless. But you got to understand the basics. And there is no one, I strongly believe, if you go and ask someone, can you help me? Can you help me learn this? They will not tell you, get out. They will try and assist you, you know? And that learning of a trade, that links into tourism, is so important. Whether you're going to be a supplier to the business, or you're going to be in the business, or you're going to start a business, I think is critical. Airbnb, for instance, is not reopening. What other alternative can be done, even to accommodate people? How can we do it safely? I know as Africans we don't go camping. I'm a fan of camping. You know, how can we do things differently? Because only when you do things differently is when people take notice and people want to share in that. What are we? And that's why I just think each person that's listening to this need to sit down and do a SWOT analysis. One, a SWOT analysis of themselves, and analysis of this pandemic.
What they want,
And with yourself, you look at what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, and where, you know, and where are the opportunities. And the same thing with this pandemic. Where are the opportunities? And open your eyes, read the news, listen to what's happening. I know there's a lot of negativity. Put aside the figures. We've heard all the time figures of the infections and deaths. Go past that and look for information that actually matters in terms of creating business, creating livelihoods, creating a legacy. And they are there. And
I love it. And I like the fact that you've said all of what you've said. I think one of the things that we've learned from COVID is the importance of collaborations. And I've learned a lot also from the passion in my industry, and also you've mentioned agriculture. I've also ventured into agritourism. And those sort of things keep you growing, and you learn how they all interlink at the end of the day. But it's important to really just take yourself out of that comfort zone and explore. So I like what your PA is doing, because I'm also venturing into something similar, and I'll pop you an email with that too.
Please do.
Very interesting. So I'm glad that our industry is seeing the value of always being open to learning more out of what we've learned within tourism.
And Jessica, if I could add something, you know, when you talk about collaborations like that, even coming back into business, I looked and I needed to get the hotel running, and but we don't have funds to use on marketing and doing fancy things. And I looked and said, oh, you know, every time you need something, I believe in the value of exchange. You know, if there's something that I have, and I always say, you know, one man's garbage is another man's treasure. So, you know, what I have, someone else might not have, and I might need to have. Can we exchange? And I've worked that way with media houses, for instance, told them, look, at this time they've got nothing to talk about. so I'll give you content, and for that content, give me some airtime, and that works. So what you've got and what you can be able to exchange for what you have. I love that. But also on the same trend is when you go back to Mandela Month, how are you going to make an impact? I always say, wherever you're born, you want to make an impact one day that you can sit back and you can say yourself, look, I made an impact around people. And an easy one, not even an easy one, but a potential one is cultural tourism, but not cultural tourism where people are coming to watch, to watch Zulu dances, for instance. And I'm just taking that very general, because they're amazing. But that lives here might not find that to be astonishing because they've seen it before. But when you talk about cultural tourism, I'm talking about marketing ourselves and marketing I'm talking about being in the township and marketing for, when you go to countries like Norway, Sweden, they've got everything.
Yeah.
They've got everything. They've got no need. I mean, when I lived in Dubai, there's no charity because there's no one that needs anything. There is no beggars.
Wow.
Funds. There is no one that's needing. Go to hospitals. There's plenty. There is no need for charity, which is because I prefer giving, and I know people. They're living in a bubble because there's a huge need in the world, and with this, Jess, is if you can create. It's actually it's called there's adventure tourism, but also there's one. People come to assist, which is what I'm talking about, say, building or helping a school. But if you can create an opportunity where I am a person living in New York, living in Sweden, and there's an opportunity to come to Kwamashu and come and assist this little school. People will love assisting.
That's what they would love.
But they need an avenue that is going to be safe and they will. People love the benefit of giving, especially even from the West. If we can create, we'll kill two birds with one stone. We'll create cultural experiences, we'll create changes in the community by having people assisting. We don't have enough teachers, that's for sure. But we've got, you go to the US, they've got the people that don't need jobs
at all.
They've got, but want to do something more than what they can, but they don't know how to do what else to do. Of online communities where people can come. There's one that I used to follow that was called couch surfing, and couch surfing was before Airbnb, and couch surfing was about you hosting someone from around the world, but they're not coming to be tourists. They're coming to learn or stay with you and see things in your own eyes. So you say, in your own eyes, in your own time, in your space, And I've traveled actually around the world a lot with that. I've gone to Bahrain, Jordan, Ethiopia, Germany, with this, because you go there and you meet this person, they host you. Look, I've got a little bed or whatever it is, they'll host you there. You obviously got to be someone that you're comfortable with, but they don't stop their program. So you're going to do something, they come with you, and then actually how life happens,
Wow.
And those are the opportunities of doing tourism in a different way. That, experiences is key. There's going to be realized very quickly. Now people want to travel because they've realized very quickly the world can shut down.
Exactly.
So people.
And you don't want to say you missed out.
No, absolutely.
Wow, John, this has been super fantastic. And I know you're always busy. As you say, you are mentoring students, you're mentoring people in Johannesburg. You've got your plate full, but you never, ever say no to us. And we appreciate that from you. We appreciate you taking time to give us time during Mandela Month with your words of wisdom. And I know that this will help a lot of youth out there and just people in general. A lot of us sitting at home, still just waiting for better possibilities after COVID. So it will just encourage us a lot. And we thank you for the wonderful work that you do. And we can never be more grateful for the time that you've given us. And thank you so much, John.
Jessica, what a pleasure for me.
We love watching your social media, obviously, with the Beverly Hills, and we like it a lot. So I encourage everyone who's been listening to go and like the pages. They are Twitter, Instagram,
please do.
Facebook.
Please follow us. Follow us on Instagram and on Facebook.
In Durban. So yeah, we really, really love it. Maybe what you can also do is, John, just share your video, so we'll also upload it when we upload our conversation, so people can see the amazing, beautiful Beverly Hills Hotel that has so much history and has really changed so many people's lives over the years.
Thank you. And maybe what we'll do, we still love the, for Mandela Month, you cannot not give, it's always said give. So we'll throw in some raffle prizes as well. So as the webinar goes on, you answer probably 2 questions and you can be able to win some fabulous prizes, maybe, maybe experience to stay with us. Because it matters. I mean, the first step, I got into hospitality because of love of cooking, and B, observing how the industry runs. So we'd like to as well through you, Jess.
That would be awesome. We will definitely do that and tag you. But for today, thank you so very, very much. We really appreciate you, John, and continue doing the fantastic job that you do in all the hats that you wear. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Okay. Go well, and let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep the hope go up, and defeat this soon and get back to big business again. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Excellent.